What's up, everyone? David here with Core Confidence, and today we're talking about how to get your ex back, which is a controversial and counterintuitive approach that I'm going to talk about today. So recently I have seen an uptick in guys that are contacting me, reaching out to book in a call with me, see if how I can help them in their dating love life situation. And I'm seeing a higher number, more than usual, of guys that are wanting to get their ex back, their ex-girlfriend, ex-fiance, ex-wife, this type of scenario, okay? And I understand where they're coming from. I've been there, right? You have those loving feelings for her, for this one particular woman, and it could have been weeks, months, or even years that you have not moved on, or you've tried to move on with other women, but she's always at the top of your mind somehow, or you're comparing every other woman, or pretty much every woman, to her, and it's just not the same. They're not the same, and it's not working, and you feel like it's going to work with her, even though she's the one who ended it and it didn't work out. That's usually how it goes. It's usually not mutual, and it's usually not you. Sometimes it can be, but that's a very low percentage. It's usually she called it off and it didn't work on that level, and you still want her back. You want to be back with her, okay? So this is where it gets really counterintuitive, okay? And this is where a lot of you aren't going to like this. Some of you are going to get hit with the truth here, okay? What I see is the best way to do this, to have the possibility of re-attracting her into your life, okay? And that is, you have to actually let her go emotionally, okay? That doesn't mean she's completely cut out of your life, but it does mean that you aren't having a primary emotional focus of she's the one, she's the one, she's the one. Because if you haven't noticed already, if you've been in this situation recently or are in this situation, what'll happen is maybe you'll be out of touch for a while, you're kind of lightly staying in touch, and you feel like things are on a positive uptick in terms of how you're relating. It doesn't mean that she's highly interested, although you may read it like that, or that she's interested again. But you'll be getting feel-good feelings. You may be chatting, having a bit of fun on a very friendly level, and you're like, okay, maybe this can happen again, right? And then what happens is you start to chase her. You start to say, hey, let's get together, invite her out. Maybe you do get together, but it never moves forward again in a romantic direction. Or if it does happen to happen, it's a blip, but that's pretty rare. And then you find out she starts talking about some guy that she likes, or some guy that's giving her trouble. You're kind of the shoulder to cry on. You're kind of the friend in that sense. And the whole thing just stays in this kind of limbo ping pong, or ping pong limbo. And you keep thinking and hoping and wishing and waiting that it'll turn around, and it just loops over and over. Weeks, months, years even. Okay, I had a guy reach out to me that said recently that a relationship of 4 years ago, he still badly wants to get back together. Okay, and so that's where the strategy here is the same, whether you're still in love with your ex, have strong feelings for her, or you're single and looking to attract the right woman in your life. It's all the same. A guy who has that vibe that women find irresistible doesn't behave like that, okay? Women aren't attracted fundamentally to the guy that behaves like that, and it's probably part of why the relationship, I'm not saying entirely, why the relationship didn't work out in the first place, because of that behavior on a particular guy's end or your end, if you're doing that, okay? And did it in the relationship, by the way, not just now, okay? It's a through line, okay? It's still going on, and it was going on. That's the most likely possibility. I know that's what happens. And so this is where you got to be really honest with yourself if you're doing that. And hopefully you're going to hear this as some wake-up advice, that you've got to find a way to get beyond her in order to actually have the possibility of attracting her back. It doesn't mean you will, but you see, I've worked with guys in this kind of situation before as clients. And by the way, it doesn't have to be just an ex. It's any particular girl that you really have feelings for, and there's this kind of cat and mouse going on. It's not really going anywhere. Maybe you got together once romantically, intimately, but then it didn't really go beyond that, or it went to a certain point and it really didn't go any further. And then there's all this back and forth. You're still in touch, and maybe grab drinks sometimes, and whatever, hang out at the park, okay, whatever it is, but it never moves forward, and you just keep hoping. Well, there's a guy in particular that I worked with that had a girl, and he was, he realized that, we had a conversation. He realized he couldn't solely focus on her, and he really had to be genuine about letting her go. But then still, okay, she's in the mix, but, it sure would be nice to have a girl like her, which is a huge upgrade than her, right? So, okay, that's fine. That means the guy is at the point of more than willing to really let that individual girl go. Okay, she's got characteristics, great, because there are other women out there going to be like that. And what he found is he got more confident in himself, stopped chasing and pursuing women so much, still was out interacting, meeting women socially, and then women really started coming towards him a lot more, and he kind of led the way. Still got to be that leader. What he found was the light that he saw her in shifted, and he goes, whoa, I had these rose-colored glasses on that I was missing other things that weren't necessarily a fit. And then it just became, okay, well, I'm not really attracted to her anymore, because he was also upgrading not only himself, but what he deserved, to see what he really deserved in something that was along the lines of being something that was healthier and more balanced in a relationship, or on the way to a relationship, right? That led him to see he was ignoring certain things that weren't a fit of her personality, characteristics, habits, things like that, right? This is very typical to happen because, right, the common point of attraction is you, is me, is whoever in our relationships. And oftentimes we can get into this codependent mode when we get into that state, or you get into that state of she's the one, but it didn't work. She left. There's a lot of projection going on. A guy will project and see her as like perfect when she's not, and neither are you and neither am I, and overlook the things that didn't work, and then chase, and then she's just still going to run away, right? Still not going to work on that. And even if you did get back together, it's pretty likely it wouldn't be a healthy relationship because there were reasons it didn't work in the first place. I'm a big believer in having that fit right from the start, or right as possible, let's say. This isn't about perfection, but too often I see with guys, I've seen it with me in the past, heck, I've seen it with my own friends even recently, men and women, jumping into a relationship, diving in, the sex is great, initially they get along, and then the stuff starts to creep up, and house keys are exchanged real quick, you can leave your toothbrush over here, way too fast, when they don't really know each other, and don't really know if they're a fit, especially on the personality characteristics and qualities and values, okay? So, again, it's not comfortable to hear this, but it's what I found to really be true, and a lot of guys that I've helped, is I love the line from Sting, if you love somebody, set them free. You've really got to set them free and really set yourself free. And it is possible to re-attract her, but it's got to be a letting go of her in that relationship genuinely and honestly, and see if she'll come running back, and then also take an honest look at, does she really match the qualities? Because then when you're in a position of abundance, and using what I call a many-to-one strategy, which is why focusing on, okay, this one, and then, this one will be it. And she's the one, and I like her, before, without being in a position of seeing a few women at once, at least initially, and not as a jerk and not as a player or anything like that. But if you don't come from that position, you actually come from a place of more neediness and scarcity, because you're putting all your eggs in one basket, right? For any of you that own businesses, it's like, oh, just this one client, I got to get that one client or customer, right? If you ever job search, I've got to get this one job. right? And you come from that position, I must get only this one job, and you come from desperation and neediness, then that's a problem. And it's pretty likely you may not get the job. It can depend, but a lot of times it would be pretty likely that you won't. Okay? Because people like to be around people that value themselves, have a backbone, have a spine, right? And aren't just so easy to say, oh yeah, I'll do whatever you want, right? And that's what you're doing when you're like, I'll do anything to get her back. And then any strategy, and a mistake guys can make is, even the stuff I teach here about having a vibe, you know, the irresistible vibe, magnetic vibe, all that, is it's just a strategy to get her back. And that won't work. That's not genuine. That's not you actually being willing to go for the highest and best for yourself, which could be her, but it could be another woman that could be the same level or better. And like I said with the story of the gentleman I just told you about, he was like, wow, she really wasn't a fit. Once he started to really upgrade himself, his vibe, attracting women in, more of the right types, and everything took off from there. Okay? So that's how I see it. That's the straight juice from me today. I hope that helps you. I hope it wakes you up to the truth of how you really need to approach this so that you can have the highest and best that you deserve in dating and love and relationships. Okay? Because that's what I believe in, is having that 10 out of 10 love life for you, your version of that, right? Your perfect 10. There is no the perfect 10. Everybody has their own perfect 10 or perfect fit. I don't even like to say perfect 10 necessarily, but the right fit for you, right, in relationship. Okay? So that's what I have today, and we're complete.